Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Deidre-ann Anderson and I write romance with black girls that kick ass. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below so that you can follow along on my writing journey and hit that bell so that you can be notified every single time I post a video. Now today we'll be discussing how to deal with Preptober as a planster or a panster. Y'all know I pants my stories. Well, I sort of plans my stories as I know where I'm going when I go in. But where does that leave me with Preptober? Do you even know what Preptober is? I just found out a few months ago. But if you're like me, who you're new to Preptober, or you pants your stories and have no clue what to do in Preptober, this will be the video for you. So stay tuned. Okay, so NaNoWriMo is upon us. That's November Novel Writing Month. For authors, it's like their Christmas of the year. All right, it's the month where we sit down and we try to write at least 50,000 words in a month. Well, a lot of us actually write 50,000 words in a month or aim to write 50,000 words in a month. A lot more months than in November. But November is the main one. So in October, or Preptober as it's called, authors sit down and they plot their stories, they make their plans for November. You have authors that they plan their meals, they plan their days, they plan their tasks, they create schedules for exercise time. They go all in. But as a pantster who pantses not only their novels but also life, how do you deal with Preptober? This is how I deal with Preptober. First of all, before we get into the tips, let's share with you what I plan to do for Preptober. At this point, my schedule is ridiculous. So I have no idea if I'll even be participating in NaNoWriMo. So what I plan to do with my Preptober is to figure out if I want to participate in NaNoWriMo this year, if I can manage it with my schedule, and figure out a project that I'll be working on or a goal that I want to achieve in November and put things in motion to get that done. It will be mostly used for figuring out my schedule to see if it's even possible. And then if so, I'll update you throughout the rest of Preptober what I decide. But if you've already decided to participate in NaNoWriMo and you're wondering, what do you need to do for October? Here's the tips I have for you. So tip number 1 will be to figure out the project you want to work on in NaNoWriMo. Will you be working on a short story? Will you be working on a novel, a novelette? Will it be something brand new? Will it be something that you've already conceptualized in your head? What will you be working on? Figure out that story and try not to be like me and change it at the end of the month. Figure out the story you want to work on, hammer down the project, and try to stick to it. All right, tip number 2. The next thing you'll want to do is to create the world for your story. Now, I know not everyone writes fantasy or sci-fi. However, every story has a world. Even my romance stories have worlds. It's where your story takes place. Will it be a small town? Will it be a big city? What will their culture be? Will there be nice people? Will there be just plain assholes? Will it be set in a place where everyone knows everyone's name, everyone is cordial, everyone likes each other? Or will it be set in a high school or a workplace or in a big city where you hardly know your neighbors? What will your setting be? What will the culture be like? What will be the main places that the story takes place? Will it be in a school? Will it be in work? Will it be in a store? Will there be a town? These are things you'll want to know before going in, because all of these will help you when you sit down to write your story, because you'll understand what will be going on. Another good thing to work out when you're working out your world building is the season. What will be the season of your story? Will it be the winter? Will it be the summer? I mean, you want to know, is this the winter before having your characters go out in short shorts and a tank top to freeze their butts off, right? So things like this are good to know before going into NaNoWriMo. So hammer out your world. Tip number 3. Create your characters. Who will be interacting with this world? Who are your characters? Who's your main protagonist? Who's your main character? So you want to know your character so that when you sit down, you know what they will do, what they won't do. How will they interact with the people around them, with the world itself? For example, if someone's impatient and there is a scene in your story where they have to wait in a long queue at a DMV, if your person is impatient, then obviously they're not going to be sitting down all cool and collected, la da da. They'll probably be the one shouting out, "Hey, hurry it up! What's taking so long? You've been on lunch for 5 hours." Things like that. They'll be making ruckus. They'll not be sitting calmly. Versus someone who is patient and understanding will probably be sitting there quietly, just waiting. People will probably be skipping her or him in line because they're just calm like that, right? So understand your characters, how they interact with your world, and how they interact with the people around them. Speaking of people around them, create yourself some side characters. They may not be your protagonist, but your protagonist needs people to interact with. Does she have family, or does he have family, or will they have people around them? Who will be around them? Is there a boss? Is there a mom? Is there a dad? Is there a best friend? Who is the villain? So figure out these things before you sit down. That will give you pointers to say, okay, this is exactly who I'm starting with. At some point, this person will be introduced, and you'll have more of an easy way to pants your story when November comes. All right? Tip number, am I at 3 or 4? I forgot. Tip number 4, I believe. Right? So tip number 4 is to give yourself inspiration. Get yourself ready to write in November. All right? So you want to create mood boards, vision boards, playlists. Get things sketched of your characters. Now, things go quicker when you're excited for it, right? When you're excited for a story, the words just flow. As a panster, that is. As a plotter, too, I would assume, but I can't speak of a plotter because I don't know of the life of a plotter. But for me, when I'm excited about a story, when I'm excited about an idea, the ideas just flow, the words just flow. When I'm not really feeling the story, if I'm not into it, I have a difficult time writing it. So in November, when there's no room for error, you want to be excited for your story. So create a Pinterest board. Get vision boards. Put quotes of your story of who your character is, little snippets around you in your writing space. Create playlists. So if you know that there are action scenes or there are romance scenes or smexy scenes, you want to create playlists that will put you in the mood to write those scenes, right? You don't want to be listening, well, unless your character is that type of character. Maybe your character listens to rock while they're having smexy times. We don't know. No one's judging here. Do your characters, but create something that would put you in the mood for writing that type of scene. All right. And then when November comes and it's time to hammer out those words, put your playlist on in the background and write those words away. And then later, you can even include your playlist into your novel when you get it published. Readers want to know insights about your writing. So if you have them, if you have those vision boards, if you have those playlists, if you have those mood boards, share them with your readers. Drop them in your newsletter. Believe me, they'll appreciate it. All right, and now my final tip is probably going to ruffle a few feathers here because, in our pantser life, we don't like planning things ahead of time. However, my final tip for you, my final suggestion is figure out some of the scenes that you want to be in your story. I know. I am supposed to be pantsing. I don't want to plot anything. But it's much easier to take a road trip from San Francisco to New York if you know the states that you have to drive through, or if you know the route you'll be taking. Right? I know most of us, we follow different outlining methods. Some of us use beat sheets. Some of us write with Save the Cat, Romancing the Beat, depending on our genre. So we already know like a set structure that we'll be following. But why not take that one step ahead? So if you're writing a young adult novel, will there be a big party scene? right? Will there be a big dorm fight? Things like that you want to hammer out ahead of time, right? So, these scenes may not make it into your novel. I'm a pantser, I understand. They may never even see the page. However, knowing that you'd like to have that in your story, knowing that at some point this is going to happen, or at some point this is going to happen, even if you don't know the order yet, that's fine. But that gives you a little mini roadmap to follow when you sit down. You're not gonna be like the plotter that's going to in-depth plan every single chapter and every single scene, but knowing where you want each chapter to at least end up, having an overall vision of your story will help you tremendously when you sit down to write. I can tell you that when you go in blank, some people it works for them, sitting down on a blank page with no plan and just going in. It works for some people, but most of us, pansters or not, we need to have a little mini plan in our head. At least know where you want to have the story finish, where you want to have the story begin. When I sit down to write my stories, I know exactly where my stories will end up. Well, I write romance. It's a little easy because I know that every story ends in a happy ever after, right? So I have that going in. I know all my couples will end up together. But the way they get there, how I torture them, is all up for grabs, right? So, and getting people to believe that happily ever after at the end is not an easy task, especially when you're not going in with a set plan. So, knowing where my story will end up, I often know my big plot twist before I go in. I know the end of my story before I go in. It's just getting there that I have no clue about and that my characters drive. But having a mini road plan will really, really, really help you out to get through November. All right, so these are my tips for attacking Preptober as a panster or planster. Now go ahead and let me know in the comments below if any of these tips works for you. Will you be trying any of these tips? What do you do in Preptober as a panster or a planster? Do you have any tips for me? I mean, I didn't even know what Preptober was until a few months ago. So if you're new to Preptober, what will your first Preptober be? Are you participating in NaNoWriMo? Let me know all the dates in the comments below. All right, guys, that's the video I have for you. Go ahead and hit the like button to let me know you appreciate the content that I'm giving you and that you like the content I'm putting out so that I know you want to see more content like this. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every single time I upload a video. All right, until next time, I'm Deidre-ann Anderson. I write romance with black girls that kick ass. See you in the next one. Bye.